For instance, if all of their parents worked in the same factory, or if all of their mothers had had x-rays while they had been pregnant.
One of the first things investigators tried to discover is this a true cancer cluster or a random occurrence? If the average rate of cancer in a city is 1 in every 10 households, for example, we assume that the distribution of those cancers will be more or less equal. But if it isn't, and the same number of cancer cases happen in a group or cluster, scientists try to figure out if it's because of chance or if there's a reason for the cluster. The rate of childhood leukemia in Maryvale was higher than it should have been, and the residents first suspected pollution.
We know there's a problem. There are studies that show benzene does cause childhood leukemia. Benzene comes from gasoline. Here's the kids. Here's the area where children have been dying of leukemia. Here's the gas storage facility right here. Do you think it's just coincidence?
The tank farm near the cluster site was suspected of leaking benzene into the atmosphere. Benzene has been linked to leukemia, but not to the type found in the Maryvale cancer cluster.
Cancer is cancer, whether it's leukemia, whether it's cancer of the brain, cancer of the skin, cancer of the stomach, cancer of the lungs. Cancer is cancer.
But researchers say that isn't entirely correct. There are many different kinds of cancer with many different causes. For cancer to develop, two things must happen. First, a cell becomes damaged in some way by an inherited defect or by something like radiation, a virus, or a chemical. Then something has to activate the cell, like the chemicals in cigarette smoke or pollution. The result? Cells which multiply out of control, creating junk piles of abnormal cells called tumors.
For reasons that we don't completely understand, childhood leukemias tend to cluster. And there have been many, many leukemia clusters in children described in the literature.
But what causes a large number of leukemia cases to cluster in a small neighborhood such as Maryvale? Norm Peterson sent detailed questionnaires to the families of the cancer victims and immediately tested the St. Vincent de Paul School.
We immediately went out, did a radiation survey to see that there hadn't been, for instance, some radioactive material incorporated into the structure.
They also tested radiation levels in the schoolyard and surrounding neighborhoods to see if electric power lines or a substation might have been involved. Since much of Maryvale had been farmland back in the 60s and routinely sprayed with insecticides, could this have affected the drinking water? Some residents remembered contaminated wells closed by the city a few years earlier.
The block I grew up on was right smack in the middle of it. Looking back, it's very scary, you know, to think that we lived with this and, you know, why.
The citizens of Maryvale wanted answers. Their home values were tumbling. Their children dying.